The late afternoon sun hung low over the small suburban town of Brookhaven, painting the sidewalks gold and copper. It was a quiet Thursday, too quiet for what was about to unfold. Tanya Williams walked out of a local grocery store with 2 paper bags pressed against her chest. She was in her early 40s, elegant in simplicity, jeans, sneakers, and a soft gray sweatshirt that had seen a few too many laundry days. Her smile was warm but tired. It had been a long week preparing for her new role as Brookhaven's first black female police chief, a role she'd kept quietly under wraps until her official introduction the next morning. Her 12-year-old son, Marcus, trotted beside her, sipping from a can of soda. "Mom, can we get pizza tonight?" he asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Tanya chuckled. "After all that healthy food I just bought?" "You're lucky it's your favorite day." They laughed together as they reached their car, the rhythm of their conversation easy and familiar, until the sound of screeching tires shattered it. A police cruiser came barreling into the parking lot, lights flashing though no siren blared. 2 white officers stepped out. Officer Clark, mid-30s, square jaw, mirrored shades, the kind of man who thought authority was measured in volume, and Officer Dunn, older, more cautious but no less complicit. They moved with an urgency that smelled of presumption. "Hey, you two, stop right there," Clark barked, pointing at Tanya and Marcus as if they were fugitives. Tanya blinked. "Excuse me?" Clark's voice cut through the parking lot. "We got a call about a shoplifter matching your description. Mind showing us what's in those bags?" Tanya's instinct was calm. Years in law enforcement had trained her to measure her words. "Of course, officer," she said gently. "But I assure you I paid for everything. The receipt's right here." She reached into her sweatshirt pocket. "Don't move," Clark snapped, hand on his holster. "Hands where I can see them." Marcus froze, soda slipping from his grip and splattering across the pavement. "Mom!" he cried, eyes wide. Tanya stopped instantly, both hands raised, her heart thumping hard in her chest. "I was just getting the receipt," she said evenly. "I'm not a threat, officer." Dunn walked around her slowly, eyes scanning her bags. "We'll sort this out at the station," he muttered. "Just turn around." Clark pulled out his handcuffs. "You're resisting. I'll add that to the report." "I'm not resisting," Tanya said quietly, her voice calm but steady. "I'm cooperating." But her composure only seemed to annoy Clark further. Within seconds, the cuffs were around her wrists, cold metal biting into her skin, as Marcus stood frozen beside the car. "Sir, please," Marcus pleaded, tears forming. "My mom didn't steal anything." Clark shot him a sharp look. "Back up, kid. Don't make me." "Enough!" Tanya's voice cut through, firm, authoritative, more command than plea. Clark flinched at the tone but brushed it off with a scoff. People had started watching now. A few onlookers held up their phones, recording. A middle-aged woman from the store whispered to her friend, "She didn't do anything. I saw her pay." But the officers didn't care. They'd made their judgment. They pushed Tanya toward the police cruiser, the weight of the cuffs pressing against her veins, the humiliation thick as smoke. She'd trained officers like these before, young men with chips on their shoulders, eager to flex authority but blind to fairness. Her mind whispered, "Stay calm, Tanya. You know this game. Don't give them an excuse." Marcus tried to follow, but Dunn blocked him. "Where's your father, kid?" he asked, his tone condescending. "Maybe he can come explain what your mom's up to." Marcus straightened, tears streaking down his cheeks. "My mom doesn't need to explain anything. She didn't do anything wrong." Clark sneered. "Sure, that's what they all say." Tanya closed her eyes, her heart aching. Not from the cuffs, but from seeing her son learn so young what the world could do to his dignity. Clark rifled through her grocery bags, pulling out bread, eggs, vegetables, everyday things that suddenly looked incriminating under his judgmental gaze. "Looks clean," Dunn muttered, scratching his neck. Clark frowned. Maybe she ditched the stolen items before we arrived. Tanya's lips tightened. "You're making a big mistake, officers." Clark folded his arms. "We'll see about that." Just then, the police radio crackled inside the cruiser. The voice of dispatch came through, clear and calm. "All units, be advised. The new police chief will be arriving at headquarters within 10 minutes. Repeat, new chief of police en route." "Over." Dunn glanced toward Clark, frowning. "Thought the new chief wasn't starting till tomorrow." Clark shrugged. "Whatever. Let's finish this before the boss shows up." Tanya couldn't help the faint, bitter smile tugging at her lips. Tomorrow, she thought. That's what they think. She'd been scheduled for her official introduction the next day. The mayor wanted a ceremony, the cameras, the headlines. Brookhaven welcomes its first black female chief of police. But tonight was her unofficial introduction. By now, a crowd had gathered. A young woman in a floral dress stood nearby, filming steadily. "This is crazy," she muttered. "She didn't steal anything, they're just—" A middle-aged man beside her added, "It's always the same story. Wrong color, wrong place." Tanya said nothing. She didn't need to. The scene spoke for itself. Dunn shifted uncomfortably. "Clark, maybe we should just—" But Clark interrupted. "No. We stick to protocol. Let's take her in." "Protocol?" Tanya asked, her tone suddenly sharp. "Since when does protocol involve assaulting a mother in front of her child without evidence or probable cause?" Clark's face reddened. "Watch your tone, lady. You're not in charge here." Tanya met his eyes steadily. "Not yet," she murmured. He didn't understand what she meant, but the quiet confidence in her voice unsettled him. Minutes later, a sleek black SUV pulled into the parking lot. The crowd parted as the door opened, and Mayor Catherine Holt, a small woman with commanding presence, stepped out. Two senior officers followed, Captain Reynolds and Lieutenant Harris, both visibly tense. Clark straightened his posture, suddenly nervous. Dunn took a step back. "Mayor Holt?" Clark said, forcing a smile. "Good evening. We're handling a situation." The mayor didn't respond immediately. Her eyes scanned the scene. The cuffed woman, the crying boy, the phones recording, the silent crowd. Her jaw tightened. "What in God's name is going on here?" she demanded. Clark gestured toward Tanya dismissively. "We had a shoplifting suspect. Just following procedure." Reynolds stepped forward, recognition dawning as his eyes met Tanya's. "Wait," he said sharply. "Is that—" "Yes," the mayor interrupted, voice cutting like glass. "That's Chief Tanya Williams." The silence that followed was suffocating. Clark's face drained of color. What did you say?" "I said," the mayor repeated slowly, each word heavy with controlled fury, "you have just arrested the new chief of police." Dunn's mouth fell open. "Oh my God." Clark stammered. She didn't identify herself." Tanya turned, her expression unreadable. "You never gave me the chance, Officer Clark. You were too busy assuming." The mayor's glare could have burned steel. "Remove those cuffs. Now." Clark fumbled with the keys, hands shaking as he unclasped the metal restraints. Tanya rubbed her wrists, the faint red marks bright against her brown skin. She didn't lash out. She didn't yell. Her control was quiet power, the kind that shamed arrogance without raising a voice. When the cuffs came off, the mayor stepped closer to Tanya. "Chief Williams, I am so sorry." Tanya held up a hand gently. "It's all right, Mayor. I know what I walked into when I accepted this job. But I didn't expect the introduction to come quite like this." Her calm composure made Clark squirm. His earlier arrogance evaporated, replaced with visible shame. Dunn finally spoke, voice small. "Chief, we were just doing our job. We didn't know." Tanya's gaze locked onto him. "You were doing what you thought was your job. There's a difference." Clark dropped his eyes. She turned to Marcus, who was now clinging to her side. "You okay, sweetheart?" He nodded, eyes still red. "Can we go home now?" "Soon," she said softly, brushing his cheek. Then she faced the officers again. "What happened here? This is exactly why I took this position. So no other mother, no other family ever has to go through something like this again." The crowd murmured in agreement. Someone clapped quietly, others followed. The mayor turned to Clark and Dunn. "You'll both file a full incident report tonight," she said sharply. "And expect disciplinary review. Effective immediately." "Yes, ma'am," Dunn muttered. Clark swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am." Tanya exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing. "Gentlemen," she said, "tomorrow morning, you'll be in my first training session. Both of you, front row." Later, the SUV escorted Tanya and Marcus home. The flashing lights behind them now felt less like a warning, more like an acknowledgement of what she represented, a shift in power, in perception, in possibility. Marcus broke the silence first. "Mom?" "Yes, baby? You didn't even get mad." Tanya smiled faintly. "Getting mad wouldn't have changed anything. But changing how they see people like us, that's what matters. He thought about that, looking out the window at the fading horizon. Do you think they'll change? Tanya looked ahead, her reflection calm in the windshield. They will, she said quietly. Because now, they'll answer to someone who knows exactly how it feels to be on the other side. The press conference was held at City Hall. Reporters filled the room, flashes going off like fireflies. Tanya stood at the podium in her crisp uniform, the badge glinting under the lights. "Good morning," she began, her voice steady, warm, and resonant. "My name is Chief Tanya Williams, and I stand before you not just as your new chief of police, but as a mother, a citizen, and a woman who has seen firsthand what happens when justice is blinded by bias." She paused, scanning the audience. "Last night I was handcuffed in a parking lot for doing nothing more than buying groceries. It could have been anyone, that's the problem, and that's what I intend to change." The room fell silent. Even the mayor looked humbled beside her. "Our community deserves a police department that protects, not provokes. That listens, not labels. I don't hold grudges, but I do hold expectations. And my expectation is this: that every officer, from rookie to captain, remembers that the badge is a promise, not a privilege." She ended with a small, hopeful smile. "Because justice," she said softly, "must begin with humility." Applause erupted. Some reporters stood, clapping. Marcus, sitting in the front row, smiled proudly at his mom. Later that evening, Clark knocked hesitantly on her office door. "Chief," he said softly. "May I come in?" Tanya looked up from her desk. "Of course." He stepped in, hat in hand. "I just wanted to say I was wrong. About everything. And I'm sorry." Tanya nodded, eyes kind. "I accept your apology, Officer Clark, but what matters most is what you do next." He nodded slowly. "Understood." As he left, Tanya looked out the window at the city she'd vowed to serve. The streets glimmered with twilight, alive with sound and motion. For the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't dared feel before. Hope. True strength isn't shown in how loud you demand respect, it's in how calmly you earn it. And sometimes, the most powerful justice is grace in the face of prejudice. If you believe that dignity should never be debated, make your opinion heard. Like this video, share it everywhere, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from and which moment impacted you the hardest. Subscribe and enable alerts for more stories in which arrogance falls and justice rises.